Hi, Christine with Lone Oak Farm, Kansas, and it has been a very busy week. Yesterday was Easter, and I still have today off from work. So I thought I'd take you on a very early morning tour and kind of show you what's happening and what's going to happen and how far we've come this last week. Let's go. Okay, first things first. I love these daffodils, the double ones. Of course, I love them all. There's no denying that, but these are a different one. They're a double, but they're also kind of a peachy pink kind of color. Super pretty. But before we get on to our tour, I have to do one very important thing. This is open the greenhouse door. It's going to be sunny today, so it heats up in here super fast. So I'm just going to open the one door, but in a couple hours I'll come back out, or I'll be out here, I guess, but I'll open up that one in a couple hours. I'll come back over here. But after a tour, I'm not going to believe this, but I have a long list of things to do today. So there we go. Okay. I did something different. I have a terrible time with, I always thought it was the rabbits, and I blamed it on the poor rabbits. But I read it's actually mice that are digging in the dirt and eating the pea seeds because they just wouldn't come up, or if they come up, they'd get eaten off. So I think it's a little bit of both. But this year, I started them in the greenhouse in just trays, and they were so thick, but just planted them out, and I think it's going to work out better. And here is the celery right here in this front row. And on the other side is, I'll walk over there. I don't think you can see it from over here. There's cabbage all along this row. On this side. There's spinach coming up. There's a row here and a row, there's rows on either side, and they are just now starting to peak up. That's super exciting. And the spinach right here is stuff I planted last year that overwintered, and it needs to be picked today. So there's not very much of it, but it'll be enough for me to fry up with some butter. But this is the broccoli. I know that I have to admit something. I actually planted them like a week ago, and I had every one of these planted. And then I went and sat down with a glass of tea, and I looked at the weather, and it was supposed to be like 50-mile-per-hour winds the next 2 days after that. And with a deep sigh, I came out and pulled every single one of them up, and I replanted them yesterday. But I guess that's a lesson learned, and I know better. I mean, you have to look at the weather. You can't just plant stuff out that when it's going to be horrible winds the next couple of days. It'll just whip them to death. Hi, Christine with Lone Oak Farm. Today is a beautiful day, and I am planting out in the garden. This is broccoli that I started inside weeks ago. I'll add the date on the bottom of it, but I started these, and they're pretty good size. They could have been put out probably a week ago, but it's just a beautiful day today, and it was really cold and rainy back. So a week ago, if it's going to be cold and rainy and halted, it might as well stay in the greenhouse a little bit longer anyway. But I showed you my card in another video. It's a laminated, it's just a recipe card that I drew a map of the garden and where everything goes, because everything is planned for a certain purpose. The sweet potatoes they will go in the middle of this long bed, and they won't be even planted till middle of May. So I have some time to get a good crop out of the either side of this 10-foot bed. And on this side, it'll be broccoli. And on the back of packets, it'll tell you how far to plant them apart. And that is a good rule of thumb, but it doesn't tell you, like, it gives you a distance for rows. And I put mine a little closer. I spaced the 2 rows that I'm planting here the same distance as you would the ones apart. And I do that because I'm not walking in between them. There's a good book I read by Dick Raymond, and he talks about planting stuff in blocks. Lettuce, spinach, carrots, planting them in blocks. And I think his rows were like 18 inches, but mine are raised beds and they're permanent, and so it's a different story. But I also planted everything I can, I plant in blocks because I'm not walking down in between the middle of those. So they don't need a further distance, a pathway per se. But so this is how I've done them for years. My trowel, it's dirty. I was digging asparagus yesterday, the weeds around them. So it's a little buddy. That's the way it should be. But it's a foot. So I didn't have to go a full foot, but I went a foot from the edge and a foot and a half from each other. So it's about 18 inches apart. On the back of my card, I put all the spacing. And for broccoli, it says 12 to 18 inches. 18 inches, I think, is the rule. So it is 18 inches apart, and halfway through, between the 2, I put another one further out. And actually, I should probably go out another one. So they're all 18 inches apart. There we go. Tamp it down. Okay, go to the next one. This is all of the broccoli that I have. And I think I have more in the greenhouse. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to have more broccoli that I have space for. We'll find a spot for it. All of the roots, when you get plants, these are ones that I've grown, but the ones you buy at the store, they will still have all their roots kind of going in a circle. They take their roots and they've tried to go out as far as they can, and so they go in circles around the edge of the pot. So when you pull it out of the pot, actually, I'll show you. If it gets stuck, don't just yank and yank and yank, because you'll end up hurting the plant. Gently massage the edge and then pull it out. Okay. So I'm going to go 1 full distance and then half of another distance, and that's my 18 inches. And I want a foot from the edge. So dig a hole. I massage my roots to make sure that they're broke up so they don't just keep going in a circle. And then halfway in between, 1, 2, right there. This one really is root bound. And I'll just massage the roots out. Tamp it down. And I will put 2 rows just like this, all the way down this side and all the way down the other side. And then I'll take a video and show you what it looks like in the end. Well, this side's done, and there's a spot right, let's see if I can get my finger in the right spot, right here by the bench that I was going to leave open and put a couple flowers, but I think it'll be okay. I think I'll still have room to tuck in a couple flowers down there. Okay, time to get started on the second side. Well, that didn't take too long. There is 55 on this side and 56 on the other side. So, need to get them watered in, and then onions are next. And there's spinach on, oh, you can see them right here. Spinach coming up. There's a row here, and there's a row here. There's garlic all the way around here. And I have this open space. So I threw some extra spinach seeds right there. The blueberries are just starting to open up a little bit. And I did not get to pruning them this weekend. I wanted to give them a little bit more chance to leaf out, to really know what had died and what hadn't. So yeah, but the roses did get done, and that looks so much better. This one is Clotilde Supert. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but it's very, very fragrant white pink one, and it was full grown, and it was so pretty. But with that frost, that one really, really cold spell just took it out this year. I'm gonna go back up to the front on this side. My clematis, so pretty. I've got one on this side. It's smaller. I was gonna transplant it, but I'm not sure. I think it has buzz. I'm not sure I'm going to get to it. It may have to wait till fall again. But up here is where I started. All of this is celery. It's not what I had planned to plant here. And then there's cabbage in here that's really, really tiny. I had planted it from seed. But the celery, like I said before, my celery, I did not plan on having this much celery. It's a wonderful thing. It's wonderful. But at the very end, it's a very tiny little amount. I didn't get a good stand of them in the greenhouse for some reason, but they're sugar snap peas. But I have enough to do what I'm going to do with them. But I am going to come through here until this before I plant. But I have cauliflower and more broccoli to plant here. But I've got some perennial weed that's coming up through here, and I need to till it, and I don't know, I'm on the fence. If I till it, I'm just going to move the weeds, the seeds around, or you just chop up the roots and move them and make them more sometimes if you don't get it raked out good. So something's got to happen here because it's coming up all over the place. And the potatoes, we just got the hoses out last night, and so this needs to be watered down in really good because we just have not had enough rain. So when I get out the hose to water, I will water the potatoes really good. And these are all the onions that we got planted in. Believe it or not, I still have 3 pots of them to plant. But here's the other one, the other blueberry and lavender, and the pears are blooming. The almonds were blooming the other day. I haven't taken the time to stop and see how they look, but they did bloom just very, very briefly. And it got weeded, but the circle is going to have to wait. And the herbs, oregano and tarragon, and there's parsley and chives and horseradish and thyme, and oh, it's a balm. It's one of the balms, and this right here was an experiment, but it is St. John's wort. And a couple years ago I had garlic here, and I guess some of the little bitty tiny bulbs got missed. So I have just a small stand of garlic coming up around my tansy. My tansy needs to be, I don't know, contained, but I think I'm going to move it someplace I don't mind it taking over like this, because it's kind of bad right now. and echinacea, and I wish I could remember the name, and rue. I knew I'd come up with it. And this is actually, it's got little tiny pink roses, and it was beautiful too. I'm sorely disappointed, but more oregano. It's a different kind of oregano, and feverfew, and pennyroyal is just now starting to come out. And I had a couple of parsley that overwintered, and comfrey, sage, and this is chamomile. And last year I did not pull the blooms off of it, and so it reseeded everywhere. It's okay. And I have one little, it was one of those packages you buy at the big box stores, and it's a kiwi, and it's right there, and it's not doing bad. I mean, those things are really super small. So, and this is the last thing that we got done. It looks absolutely amazing. The blackberries were kind of towards the edge and everywhere, and I did dig them up and move them, but it's to kind of get a fresh start. And the asparagus row looks beautiful. Farmers are all out. And okay, let's turn around. Aside from one small row along here that I need to weed a little bit, which is why the yellow bucket's sitting there, to remind me I need to do that. From here up is completely weeded. It is completely done, aside from the elderberries. It's here back that the 2 rows here of raspberries need weeded really bad, which coincidentally that's where I'm starting today, is the raspberries. And then these 2 rows of blackberries need weeded and trimmed, all the dead stuff taken off. So the strawberries, I didn't quite get them done. You can see them coming up in their rows, and they're just doing amazing. The last batch I didn't get to it, but it looks, I'm gonna walk you down here really quick. Yeah, I need to weed that too. These are black currants, and these are, it's a daylily, and they're the red blooms with yellow centers, and they're absolutely beautiful. But all of my black currants came back except for one. And I'm still holding out hope. Maybe it'll come out of it. But if not, these will send down underground runners, and I can take a start off one of the other ones and move it over there. So I planted poppies here in this little place right before the 4 inches of rain. So I'm not holding out much hope. But everything from here forward has been weeded completely, and it's such a good feeling. All the roses all the roses along here have been trimmed, and the hostas. Oh, if you don't have these, you should. Bleeding hearts. And it's supposed to rain. This little hydrangea right here has never been happy here. It gets too much evening, like late afternoon sun in the summer. It's never been happy. So it's on my list of things I need to transplant today. It's a lengthy list, but everything from here on up has been done. And the poppies down here, and actually I had some snapdragons, and surprisingly enough, I have a few snapdragons that came back too. But all of the poppies are going to be beautiful right here. If nothing else, I'll have poppies right here. So, but I have a lot more to do today, and a lot more to, I'd like to get one bed of raspberries done and get everything else planted that needs planted. But so I guess I will get started.